Tonight, leaving the Republican Party over COVID, New Hampshire State Representative William Marsh announcing he is switching his party registration from Republican to Democrat, and he has a very specific reason. His reason is that Republicans in his state are fighting against COVID vaccine mandates. State Representative Marsh joins me now. I also want everyone to know, Representative, that you are also a doctor. So these objections to vaccine mandates obviously aren't new among Republicans. So what led you to do this now?
Aaron, this started back in June. We had a bill on the House floor that basically would have put in place DeSantis-style restrictions against what I consider reasonable precautions to control COVID. I spoke out against that on the House floor, and I won. The New Hampshire House did not pass that measure. It's been an interesting summer. I won't go into some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, but yesterday, Republican leadership decided to hold a rally and come out in support of DeSantis-style regulations, prohibiting businesses from mandating vaccinations for employees, prohibiting schools from mandating masks, and prohibiting businesses from deciding that their patrons needed to be vaccinated and or wear masks. We all know what's happening in states that have followed that path. People are getting sick, people are dying, including an increasingly high percentage of children. Republicans, as I understand that term, don't prohibit businesses from taking the actions they need to protect their patrons and employees. So businesses fail when you subject them to those rules.
So let me, you mentioned the protests, and we do have some video that I'll share, State Representative, of anti-vaccine protesters in your state. So this video, everyone, you're looking at is just yesterday, and they are pushing the Republican House Speaker for more action against the mandates. So just listen to this.
You need to tell them that they have to stop this in Washington. Once it's stopped in Washington, it won't come into the state. We're helping. We're trying to do everything we can. So, you're yelling at the wrong people. We're out here to try and help you.
All right. So the speaker, they're egging them on. They're obviously incredibly passionate. They're outraged. They don't want these mandates. How dangerous is this?
Well, the real dangerous thing is subsequent to that event, the speaker filed a bill to prohibit businesses from requiring the very things that we're talking about. I can't sit by in silence while such a policy is being put into place. Doing that would betray the confidence of my former patients who are now my constituents, and they put their trust in me for years. That's just too high a price to pay. So rather than attending the rally, I went to my town clerk's office and I released the press release that I'm sure you've seen.
Yes, right. And so let me ask you about some of the Republicans in your state are obviously taking cues from lawmakers, whether it be at the national level. Obviously, you mentioned DeSantis, and clearly he's a leader of it, Abbott as well. But one of those at the national level is Senator Rand Paul. And I mention him because he's a doctor just like you are. And he recently said this about vaccine mandates.
Are they going to also tell me I can't have a cheeseburger for lunch? Are they going to tell me I have to eat carrots only and, cut my calories? All that was probably good for me, but I don't think Big Brother ought to tell me to do it.
So what do you think of Senator Paul, a doctor like you, saying something like that after receiving the same medical training you did?
Very much so. Senator Paul's a board-certified ophthalmologist, just as I was for a great many years. I have since retired. But the issue here is not the government putting policies in place. The issue here is whether we are going to prevent businesses from putting policies in place. And that's a bridge too far. I do see some point with the government not mandating certain things. I'm not going to fight that too much, although in certain venues, such as healthcare facilities, we do have an obligation to keep people safe. But that doesn't necessarily apply universally. But to prohibit businesses from putting in place the policies they need to keep themselves in business, that's not what Republicans do.
All right. Well, there's the bottom line. And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, State Representative.